our series. My name is Kara Hart, and I represent Connecticut on the board of the Association of Educational Purchasing Agencies. So AEPA is a purchasing cooperative with representatives from educational service agencies in 31 states, serving as the board of AEPA. We collectively go out to bid on behalf of the schools in those 31 states, and we extend our contracts to schools, municipalities, and nonprofits in all 50 states. By bidding together, we can alleviate the burden of our customers having to go out to bid themselves. And by aggregating all the potential spent, we can lock in savings based on volume. We have over 80 competitively bid and awarded vendor partners in 32 plus categories, and the list grows every year. We have everything from turf, tracks, and courts to school and instructional supplies, maintenance and custodial supplies, cybersecurity, and much more. This year, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we've seen a lot of growth in members, vendor partners, and sales over those 25 years. This webinar series is to educate our customers on timely topics and help increase awareness of our cooperative as well as our vendor partners. Today, you'll hear from School Specialty, who's been a part of AEPA for many years, with awards in school and instructional supplies, furniture, athletic equipment, and most recently, security. We're going to leave time at the end of this to answer any of your questions, so feel free to enter your questions in the chat, and this session is being recorded. Our next webinar will be held on May 21st. It will feature Bush Systems, which is our waste and recycling container vendor, and they're going to be talking about sustainable solutions for waste reduction and diversion. Now I'm going to hand it over to our presenter, Joe Wilson, who is Business and Development Manager in the East for Safety and Security.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for your time. I'm going to put my slide up. Ask for a thumbs up that it can be seen. Are we seeing it? All right. Golden. I'm not going to deep dive into WISE or any detail regarding specific shooter events, if you will. We're going to hit a number of topics today at a higher level, and we can always drill down from there with a more personalized call or visit to your schools. But my intent here is to provide you with some perspective and to get you thinking about what you can do at your schools, what equipment is out there to consider, both new and old, and what is trending. We know no two districts are the same, from student population to your doors, your windows, the staff, safety personnel assigned, the list goes on. We also know that safety and convenience rarely intersect. Therefore, your robust safety protocols may be inconvenient, but necessary nonetheless. And think about, pre 9/11 days where now we have to show up 2+ hours before we take a flight anywhere, 3 hours for an international flight. And that's the norm, and we've accepted it. So there are some things that we've come to accept also in this marketplace as it relates to safety and security. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of these things. There we go. We're advancing. So who are you talking with today? She gave me an introduction. Joe Wilson, School Specialty Business Development Manager for mostly the Eastern U.S., but I do work with our partners across the country. My background, I'm retired Pennsylvania State Police. I was a SWAT lieutenant, deputy chief, and Army veteran. My wife was a school teacher, 3 kids in the public school system. They've all gone on to successful careers. But the important piece is that I did a lot of work with our schools, originally as a police officer, to help our districts better prepare, respond, and recover from, unfortunately, a number of things that you guys are still dealing with today. But now managing the category for School Specialty gives me the opportunity to direct and support sales with the customers directly, and also our sales team members. But I like to focus on and target typically the operation folks, the facilities, security directors, superintendents, and principals. But again, there are a few of us within School Specialty to help you navigate this difficult road sometimes of school safety, and it's how we kind of differentiate ourselves. Represented in this slide are just a few thought leadership articles that I either wrote or co-wrote. So here's the agenda. It's pretty robust. I'm going to skim through things. I'm going to hit the high levels so we can have some thought-provoking, maybe conversation at the end, or at least give you the opportunity to think about some things that maybe you haven't yet thought about. We'll cover training, both state provided and what can be outsourced. Statistics, which can be misleading, so I'll touch briefly on statistics and be careful about those. Student behavior, we'll talk about bullying, access control. We'll get into more physical security aspects as it relates to exterior doors and windows, security cameras, classroom security. You see the list, right? Gun detection, and we'll talk a little bit what's trending. So let me get going. Starting with your state provided training. Each state is different, yet very similar. The training conversation usually goes typical across the country as it relates to keeping our schools safe, but be sure that you're taking that advantage, complete advantage of your state's provided training and any federal support as well, because the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and U.S. Secret Service offer pretty detailed school safety and security examples of protocol, procedures, best practices, as well as site and vulnerability assistance. PA as an example, which is up here on the screen. There's a fire drill that's must be completed once a month. We've been doing fire drills forever in our schools. Lockdown drills now in PA as an example, probably typical across your states. One must be performed within the first 90 days of school, and then you can substitute 2 additional fire drills throughout the year for lockdown drills. And also, most state codes require that schools conduct 2 school bus evacuation drills each school year. Active shooter training. I'll say this: follow your police responders' guidance or model. Whatever they're using, that's what you're using. But you know your communities, and it's important for your schools, our schools rather, to work with our police responders because they know them as well, and it's best to work together. Arguably, these are the 3 most popular active shooter training programs out there. The Avoid, Deny, Defend is the Texas State University Alert Program training that I'm certified in. Very similar to Run, Hide, Fight, as the Avoid is the run part, the Deny is the hide by denying access to you. The Defend is the fight part, and then the Run, Hide, Fight protocol in and of itself was developed by the city of Houston, Texas, endorsed by Homeland Security and the FBI as the recommended protocol. Alice, if you're familiar with that, that's a very well-known training program, at least out east it is, for K-12 schools. And when I was with the state police, we had a variation of our own, but nonetheless, they're all very much essentially saying the same thing. But I want to make this particular note here is that most have moved away from scaring students and staff with training and graphic stressful drills. And I think that's a good thing. The reality-based training should be left to our adult professionals, the first responders to take, and not for our students and staff. What we want to do in these drills is to teach muscle memory. When this is presented, here are your options, and then you move from there. It should not be scary for your students and staff, and they should have fun even, believe it or not, because then they'll learn. And if they're just scared the whole time, they're not feeling safe. And if you don't feel safe, you're not going to learn. And I mentioned, so we're going to talk a little about statistics, and I would say a little bit, I mean a very little bit. And this is why I say be careful. It's a busy slide. I'm not going to go into the weeds here, but I want to drive a few points home for your consideration. As horrible as all these shootings are, and they all are, you really need to look and see where they occurred and how they were perpetrated to have an accurate picture, so you can better plan and how to prepare and prevent each one. I listed out all 39 of the identified school shootings in 2024 by Ed Week, and then I went through each one of them, asking myself, if I were to think of a school shooting, what would the circumstances fit the collective general thought of what a school shooting is, which is often thought of as more of a planned attack in a school, right? And of those that fit that stereotype, there were 7 out of the 39. Those were actually in a school with intent to kill. The majority were in a school parking lot, however. So the majority outside the 7 were in a school parking lot or a sporting event, a football game, or even an accident. Some were school buildings struck by bullets from the neighborhood. like something that was not planned. So just take that into consideration when we're talking about the active shooter event phenomena. All these are indicative of a gun access issue, by the way. And for comparison, in the United States, we have around 116,000 public and private K-12 schools. That's according to federal data. That means that a shooting occurred in about 0.03% of schools in 2024. So that's my cautionary tale. That's really all I was meant to do. When you hear about statistics, try to put them in perspective. And I will talk a little bit, but I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about student behavior. And I'm presenting this to be thought-provoking. I'm not here to assist in policy writing or anything like that. But these are things to consider when dealing with a threat from within. And we, of course, have to look at discipline consequences for bad behavior. And think about in my day, and maybe in many of your days, the bigger problem was when we got home, if we misbehaved in school. And that still may hold true in some households, but there is a greater challenge, I think, today. Another question to ask ourselves: have policies or accepted behavior changed that allow or tolerate misbehavior, or haven't they? Is it a generational thing, therefore accepted? Are we sometimes looking for a piece of equipment or making excuses for bad behavior rather than just addressing it head on? That's all I want to say here. I'm going to leave that up to you to you guys to contemplate and think about what your policies are internally in your schools and how you're dealing with some of your student behavior. And then let's wrap it up here with a questionnaire that was on misbehavior since 2019. You'll note that the 2020 COVID year was left out. What this is essentially saying is that 70% of are saying that behavior worsened since 2019. A quarter is saying that it stayed the same, and about 8% is saying it improved. Let's talk a little bit finally on behavior, I guess, would be bullying in our schools. Bullying as defined by schoolsafety.org in a school environment is unwanted aggressive behavior among school-age children that involves real or perceived imbalance of power. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. 1 in 10 students who are bullied experience it daily, and only 20% of bullying incidents gets reported. So it's important and it's a problem. On the list, we'll go through real quick there. A definition, we gave you a definition, but that should also include threats, teasing, name calling, pushing, hitting, even cyberbullying. Labeling, there's a concern that we may unintentionally place judgment on a student, whether or not we or they use labels like bully or victim. Age appropriate rules, of course, that makes most sense. Set clear expectations. Number 4, when a student does something bad, it's easy to point it out. At the same time, we need to continue to reinforce good behavior. 5, open communication. Having classroom meetings is one-on-one conversations are a couple of effective ways to build that rapport. Number 6, keeping your parents informed. We inform the parents, of course, on grades and behavior and attitude in school. So that's an important way to include them. Warning signs, when bullying occurs, there may have been warning signs. So ask questions when you suspect something. Bystanders is essentially the theme of number 8 there. And it's a phenomenon, but bystanders may encourage that bad behavior. So it might be easier and sometimes quicker to first remove the bystanders and then deal with the students involved in the incident. Take the show away. Sometimes they're there to show. 9, we know there are certain places where bullying is more likely to occur: hallways, stairwells or stairs, cafeterias, bathrooms, online. And of course, all 50 states have school bullying laws in place. Staff needs to be familiar with what their state laws are in addition to the school policy, of course. There are a ton of resources out there. And as much as we feel we're making progress, I think we need to do more. Bullying is still a major issue, so let's be sure to address it. Here's one way to help addressing it is there's students, I mentioned earlier, students can't learn when they don't feel safe. And promoting your anonymous tip lines, such as Safe to Say, can help students feel more comfortable in reporting warning signs or threats. So be sure that you have your contacts, your staff ready to respond to those reports, including law enforcement if necessary. That PA website that I'm showing there added a couple facts. One is that 1 million students reported being harassed, threatened, or subject to other forms of bullying, such as cyberbullying. And 80% of school shooters have told someone of their violent plans, and 59% told more than one person before they acted. And 70% of those who died by suicide told someone of their plans or gave some other warning signs. So the Safe to Save program is pretty darn popular. Continue to use it or consider a very similar program if you don't already have one. We're going to talk about physical security now and some of those considerations. There's never just one thing that keeps our schools safe. It's a combination of solutions that work together that are key. I'll lightly cover each, and we should start by knowing and understanding that what the threat potentials are at your schools, and then have an idea as to what your options are. So part of that would be a site and vulnerability assessment, professionally conducted. There are resources available. Some of the government agencies I mentioned earlier that do have worksheets. It's best to have a professional do that, but you can always reach out to us and we can do what we can to help you. We're going to talk about access controls, security cameras, door security, and weapons and AI detection technologies here in a bit. Access control, very fundamental. It's one of those zero or most cost-effective things you can do when securing your building, and that is to control your access points, and that's typically by limiting them. So limit them to the main entrance, bus drop-off, parent drop-off, student parking for first bell. So maybe in the morning you have 2 entrance points, and then only the main entrance for the rest of the day, where you have your visitor access control, which we'll talk about next. It's easiest to control your access points, again, by limiting them, so they can be better monitored by your staff, or if you have security, by security. Sometimes this initiative will require a secure vestibule construction project. Sometimes it's just a matter of rearranging some things and locking your doors. Visitor access control, several options out there, as you likely know, for visitor access control, but prioritize what's bulleted here on the screen. Read the advantages and disadvantages, but at minimum, you need to ensure that you have a means to screen your visitors against a database, right? Then they must be physically logged for record keeping or electronically logged. Many are using systems that allow that to be conducted automatically, but provide the visitor with an ID badge that they can wear, or a lanyard, and then they must be escorted, right? And the advantages here certainly outweigh the disadvantages. Integrate systems when you can, such as your VMS, your blocks, even Halo vape detectors. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But with privacy listed here as a disadvantage, we almost saw, I think, a big move towards facial ID technology pre-COVID, but that has waned considerably. I will say that as artificial intelligence becomes more commonplace, I'd expect it to return. So that's your visitor access control. Moving around the exterior, reinforce exterior doors to protect against intruders. Use the mantra, always locked, never propped. Consider hold open alarms. And some of these alarms can be tied to your fire alarm system, your VMS, or video management system, or just a local alarm to alarm locally there with an audible signal that the door has been left open, has been propped, or has been open. We know that there have been a number of incidents where that's been an access point. So here's a number 1 action item for you. Keep all your exterior doors closed and locked at all times. Here's a question for you. What's the weakest point of any building? It's a trick question. It's actually it's an open door or unlocked door. But aside from that, it's going to be your windows. Pictured here is Nashville, Tennessee in 2023. Just like Sandy Hook in 2012, both of those shooters shot through the glass, which allowed for a quick and easy access into the building. Both of these pictures, however, are from Nashville, where the female shooter shot through the side entrance at the Covenant School. and end up killing 3 students, 3 staff members. There are 3 zones that are identified essentially for window retrofits. That's your zone 1, which will be your entrances and side and adjacent windows to the entrances, like you see here. Perimeter windows, and then interior windows. So that's zone 1, 2, and 3. And essentially, there are also 3 groups of window treatment systems. Security window film, that's there to delay entry. A polycarbonate film, that's going to stop entry. And ballistic panels, that's to address ballistics. And by the way, nothing is bulletproof. So when you hear somebody asking, I have bulletproof film, that doesn't exist, or I have bulletproof panels, that doesn't necessarily exist either. But there are ballistic panels that are rated up to a certain level of ballistic capability. That's probably commonplace or commonly known by most, but some refer to, just like police officers, we wore ballistic resistant vests, and nothing was bulletproof. There's always a bigger, faster round out there. But the bullet resistant type of glass or paneling is not typically necessary. A good safety film properly anchored to the frame is going to delay, if not deny, an entry attempt like the ones we see here. The rounds, though, will travel right through the glass. So you're going to have a 9mm or 5.56mm hole, but it's going to buy time for lockdown processes and responders to get there, or hopefully causing the shooter to just give up. So the glass isn't just going to fall and collapse. So prioritize your likely entrance attempt locations, the main doors, your side doors, your first floor windows, and then go from there. You can also consider taking advantage, which I have some schools doing that now, of tinted window film as well. That's going to limit the view from the interior, and sometimes it's just going to be a cost savings as well as it relates to some of your heating and cooling. Cameras, must talk about cameras. Just know this about cameras is they're there to document. They can be proactive when continuously monitored, but mostly they're forensic in nature. I say that so we don't have any false expectations on cameras in a targeted attack. But the camera systems do much more than record events. They don't do much more than record events unless they're integrated with another system. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I won't read, but most already have significant investments in their camera systems with a decent VMS or video management software platform, or plan to buy one. But yes, this is a must-have. And again, many of the VMS systems now integrate with other systems, even door locks, vape detectors, which I mentioned earlier, panic buttons, lockdown events, and AI weapons detection systems using the camera view. The Partner Alliance for Safer Schools suggests that classroom doors should be closed and locked whenever students are in a classroom. I do not disagree. They should be. But sometimes that's not convenient. I'm hearing from a lot of security directors out there that their doors are being propped, and that has become an issue. So a few questions you need to ask yourself. Can you lock your classroom doors from the inside without the use of a key or a tool or something to bring to the door, or any special knowledge to secure the door? And can you exit that classroom from a locked door with one single motion, making it fire code and life safety code compliant? And can first responders unlock and access the room in an emergency? Some of the options you see just pictured here are from very simple and intuitive, and some might be a little more complex and require special knowledge and practice to manipulate. But all classroom locks nowadays should be lockable from the inside of the classroom. It's law in some states, actually. And I know there are a lot of options out there. There are workarounds, magnetic strips in the jam, keeping your door locked. You remove the strip in the event of a lockdown. I've done a lot of lockdown drills as a police officer, and I've seen occasions where that has failed. The door never latched. The teacher thought it did, but it did not. Not only that, he or she is flagging the hallway by opening the door to remove the magnetic strip. I understand the cost is usually a prohibiting factor when it comes to buying quality lockdown locks, but it should always be your objective to eventually get to a code compliant door locking solution. That needs to be the ultimate goal on locks. Lockdown shades, this is a best practice, pretty inexpensive solution. Think Parkland shooter, never entered a single occupied classroom but shot through the view panel. So lockdown shades are there to screen the classroom from the hall view. Again, simple and effective. High quality blackout fabric that's got a weighted bar hem, enables quick deployment. Fire retardant materials, easy to use, no hardware, no drilling, and uniformity is what I like. I've seen a lot of schools where it's left up to the teachers perhaps, or each school building to come up with their own solution, a way to screen that classroom from a hall view. And the uniformity of a system like this is really the way to go. More guns at schools. The statistics here are really hard to believe when you look at them. And I'll let you read, but 309% increase in guns entering our schools since 2016. And then look at 2022, almost 5,000 caught with guns at schools. And I'm not a fan of stats per se, but these are two sources. In any way you look at it, it's bad. Pictured here are students at the Jenkins High School on the right that participated in a walkout in September of 24 to demand gun safety legislation. That was after the Appalachia school shooting down there in Georgia. There were 2 students were killed and 2 teachers by a 14-year-old. So we'll talk about this. The Gun Violence Research Center recorded 83% increase in found or seized weapons in K-12 schools from 2023 to 2024. So just in 1 year. That might be indicative of gun detection, metal detection use perhaps, or safe to say, but simply points to an increase in gun carrying in our schools. And gun violence has recently surpassed car accidents as a leading cause of death for American children. Very sad. Pew Research Center survey indicated that 41% of parents believe that metal detectors would help, and another 38% said they believe metal detectors would somewhat help. But what's that really mean? To me, that means that 79% of the parents think that metal detectors would be helpful. We'll look at a few types of metal weapons detection systems next. So first, when you look at the picture here, if you see the larger gray one in the background, that's your traditional walk-through metal detector that you've seen in courthouses, in the TSA screening centers, and in many of your schools. And all of the gun walkthrough types, and what you see in front of it is the CHEA Open Gate. In the gray one, just to name it, it's the PMD2 by CHEA as well. That's a New York City school, by the way, that's nearly full TSA. You see the X-ray scanners as well. They're moving towards more modern detection systems that are designed to detect weapons. So what's that really mean? So the traditional walkthrough that you see in the background, they detect metals with some more limited discrimination capability. Often your keys, cell phone, wallet, belt buckle must be set aside and your backpacks are divested. The weapons detection system also detect those metals, some ferrous and non-ferrous, but with greater discrimination capability. So the discrimination is the ability to differentiate from what is a threat versus non-threat item. Typically, you can leave all those items, your keys, your cell phone, your wallet, your belt buckle, change with you in your pockets. Don't empty them. You can wear your backpack, and the weapons detection system will not alarm with all that metal present. It's going to look for the hardened steel consistent with the barrel of a firearm or a heavier bladed knife designed for killing. So therefore, you can move many more students and spectators if you're using for sporting events, which is very popular, through in the same time frame. Increasing the throughput also means less staff and less reliance on human interaction, and subsequently less screeners fatigue, which is a true problem. Not to mention the optics. District decorative sleeves, pretty cool. I've seen a lot of great designs out there. It kind of gives some pride to the school colors, mascot, what have you. And then, of course, its objective is met, and that is to keep your school safe. Please note, though, even with the weapons detection system that has that great discrimination capability, laptops, band instruments, aluminum baseball bats, stuff like that will result in nuisance alarming. So there's no panacea, but this technology has greatly improved. There's a system for passing those devices along or outside the open gate as an example to allow for that throughput capability to continue. but do your due diligence, research, and ask for a detector demonstration. AI gun detection, there are artificial intelligence driven platforms out there now that use existing camera vision to detect firearms that are displayed in real time. So a trained individual will be vetting what they see and they'll notify authorities. So there's two main companies, Zero Eyes and OmniAlert. You may be familiar with them. We work with them both. And a team of trained individuals will be looking at the alerts in real time and also notifying the schools in real time as well. You see some examples there of that in the picture. Alyssa's law essentially is this slide represent the call for panic buttons in schools. It would require that schools install a silent alarm system that are directly linked to law enforcement. The goals to reduce the time it takes for first responders to arrive in an emergency. Alyssa Aladuff was a victim in a 2018 Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida. The law is named in her honor, and she was 14 years old, killed amongst 17 students. And we hear a lot about the law lately, but here's Alyssa. I want to put a picture of her up there. The options are vast, from a single button, maybe in the front office, to wearable cards, to cell phone applications, stuff like that. A lot of solutions out there. Again, some offer a suite that integrate with access control, even vape detectors and your VMS. And speaking of vape detectors, safety issues for sure with the vape epidemic. You know, we know that sometimes there's fentanyl-laced vape pens out there that are seriously injuring or killing our students. But the security nexus, which some are not aware of, is that many of these systems also integrate with your own perhaps panic button solution, or they provide their own panic button feature. They have gunshot detection, help emergency spoken words recognition. So if mine was set up next to me, which is not right now, and I said help emergency, mine would alert. It would say emergency declared, security notified, and a text message would be sent to whoever's been pre-designated to receive that text message for the location, and they would respond. They have people counting for overcrowding capabilities and aggressive behavior alerting on sounds, movement, and also motion detection capabilities. A lot has grown in that technology field. Maybe not a school safety topic, but I feel I should address it anyway due to demand for solutions that are out there. At least 8 states, there may be more now. This slide's a couple months old. Have restricted, enacted measures to ban or restrict students' use of cell phones in schools. The policies range widely, though. Florida was the first state to crack down on phones in school in 2023. They're banning all cell phones in public schools use anyway by students, and then blocking access to social media on the district Wi-Fi. In California in 2024, their law requires that they have 1,000 school districts create their own cell phone policies by the end of next year, by end of July of next year, I think, yeah, July. So several other states have banned phones or encouraged school districts to enact restrictions or have provided funding even to store phones during the day. And many schools, of course, have their own policies regardless. Some trending things, I want to mention this regarding cell phones, which is newer to me. Back in my day, if I was caught with a cell phone in a classroom, first of all, everybody would be, what in the world is that, Joe? It's 1982. So, but still, I would do it once. I would get in trouble, and I would probably not do it again. But the trending out there is signal blocking. So what it does is it blocks Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cell, even including 5G networks. It's a Faraday shield essentially, and there's one example pictured there at the top center. You can see the guy's thumb. That's a Faraday bag. It's a conductive enclosure that blocks electromagnetic fields. And Faraday shield was used originally by the government to block GPS, anti-tracking, RFID, and also when law enforcement used it for SCIF Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Mhm.
Did I stop? Because your recording appeared to stop.
You're still, the recording may have stopped, I'm not sure, but you're still presenting.
Okay.
Maybe you can pull your thing back up.
Oh, I lost it? Okay, yeah. All right, give me a second here. Not sure what happened. All right. Hello, technical difficulties. All right. You see, not yet. So you should see the same slide, right?
The
We see it now?
map. The big, yeah, there you go. Yep.
All right, so you see the slide with the pictures. Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right, I'm not sure what happened, but here we are. We're back. We were talking about Faraday shielding, and it was just my point in telling you that we're familiar with the Yonder type pouches that are out there, and also lockable storage cabinets we see in what you see in the picture. But the Faraday application is to block the signal so the phone won't ring and can't be. Well, it can be accessed, and that's one of the pushbacks. There are lockable pouches for Faraday, but the idea is that it is not locked, and there are strong Velcro tabs that would make considerable noise to open. The idea is that your students would not lose access to their phones in case of emergency, regardless of how we may feel about that. That is a solution that's out there. So there are options for you. Be sure to do some exploration on that before you decide on a purchase. And then one thing that's, if you see my cursor or not, that you see top right is somewhat of an answer to cell phones in the classroom. It's a cell phone looking device, but it's called Century ERS. Is by the same makers of the Halo vape detector. And that is an idea of a grab and go solution that's going to begin to record video, connects audio, and can activate your lockdown protocols. So that orange piece is more of a cell phone piece, and then you see the lockdown button. So that's some of this trending technologies that are out there right now. We're almost done, I believe. So I'm gonna kind of end with bleeding control. And I do that because my life was saved by a tourniquet. Um, it's sort of my soapbox. I'm not going to get on it very long, but it's the number one preventable cause of death, and that's the failure to control bleeding, regardless of where you are, whether you're in your car, your home, at work, or in school. My military trained son used a tourniquet, and I spent 30 plus years in law enforcement, and majority was on special teams. But it was a chainsaw that I was wielding myself that almost cost me my life. And my son was there to put a tourniquet on my lower leg, and that's a picture of my jeans. Is as nasty as it looks. I try to drive that point home to everybody when I talk to them. Bleeding control adjuncts should be available in your schools, just like you have AEDs. And I'll switch to the next slide. Just like you see here, you'll see a Stop the Bleed campaign from your malls, sporting venues, and you should have that ability in your school, at least with a tourniquet. I like to say co-locate those with your AEDs, so you have a mini medical station, if you will, available for anyone that may need it. And be honest with you, and we've had some success stories of lives saved with bleeding control. It's typically the result of an accident, right? Not a penetrating wound caused by a firearm, but a student whose brachial artery is punctured with a pencil, or some other, actually had a student busted his temporal artery open at a school district here in PA. His life was likely saved by the coagulant agent in the gauze. This slide kind of gives you an overall feel for what we can offer your schools from a category perspective. I won't go through it. We kind of hit the highlights. I wanted to keep this around 40 minutes, so I'm going to go with recap questions. We talked about training, particularly for staff, on recognizing warning signs. Did we drop again?
We did, but you're back.
Well,
So
let's we're wrapping up. So do you, we put, that was the last slide essentially. You want me
Okay.
to put it?
No, I think that's good. We do have a few questions in the chat if you want to take some of
Yeah,
those.
let's
Okay.
do it.
All right. So, are there any simple proactive steps that we can take today to help better secure our schools?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are programs and initiatives that cost little to nothing. There's a safe to say program we talked about that will help keep the information flowing to help identify, mitigate, address potential threats. State, local, Fed provided resources, but essentially keeping all the exterior doors locked, utilizing well-controlled entrance at the start of the day, and then only one point of entry during the school day, with the required access control systems, ID record checks, ID badging, escorting, and again, the products that we talked about to help keep the school safe: weapons detectors, metal detectors, proper classroom door locks, again, that are lockable from the inside, interior lockdown shades, AEDs. We talked about bleeding control kits. So that's a good question. Those are some of my thoughts.
Okay. How does technology play a part in supporting school safety? And are there any innovations that you think could play a key role in school security in the near future?
Yeah, innovation. We talked about some of that, like weapons detection systems for concealed detection, and AI weapons detection technologies using existing camera views. So using the cameras you already have, using that technology to identify potential threats that are not concealed, and the newer weapons walkthrough detection technology that's greater capability of discriminating between threat non-threat items. That's really sort of a game changer, allowing us, again, to move more students through an entry point than ever before and have them safely screened. So that's your faster throughput and less divesting. We talked about the IoT smart sensors such as Halo that's mainly purchased for vape detection, but has many other features in the safety realm, like emergency words, gunshots, aggressive behavior, panic button technology built in as well. That's all technology based, and so that would be an answer to that question.
What do you think is the biggest challenge schools face when it comes to ensuring safety, and how can they overcome it?
That's a good question. Funding has been a big challenge, but co-op usage, and that's kind of ironic to this format, has been a big help in as much of the vetting has been done for you. So that would be one way to overcome some of the funding issues, but also optics. So that's one of the challenges. What's this really look like? This look like now we're sending our kids into a courthouse or a prison environment every day. We can get past that with some of the software in appearance systems that we talked about, the sleeves for the open gates as an example, school colors, school pride. Buy-in would be another big one, board and community buy-in I'm talking about. And these can all be overcome by by learning what's out there and what your threats are. And then if in a phased-in approach, so start somewhere, a top priority after an assessment that some outside source has provided you with, and then following best practice recommendations, which are available again from many school safety resources out there, as well as FBI, DHS, local, state. You talk to me about things. We can be your trusted advisor. But many private entities, I Love You Guy foundations, there's a lot of stuff out there where it relates to helping you get past those hurdles as it relates to some of those challenges.
I think one last question that I see. What initiatives or resources does school specialty provide? I know you showed a few before, but maybe just quick, what do they provide to help create safer and more secure schools?
Yeah. So the slide before the last one kind of gave you a little view of that, right? And I'm happy to share that out to this group after the call. But metal and weapons detection solutions, the Halo IoT smart sensors, so vape, and also safety sensors for those environments where you can't place a camera. Lockdown shades for your classroom, super popular for your view panels. And some of our proprietary locking solutions, such as quick action lockdown locks. You may have seen that in the one slide. That provides a one-inch standstill deadbolt, very intuitive. Push of a red button displays on the lock the lock status of the classroom. I've done lockdown drills, by the way, not to digress too much, where the teacher thought he or she may have locked, but actually unlocked the classroom door. So things that are easy, intuitive, and rely on our gross motor skills and not fine motor skills in the event of a very stressful event. So that's important. Stop the bleed kits we talked about, window security film, two-way radios, and AI gun detection software comes to mind.
Okay. So thank you, Joe. That was great information. And thank you all for attending today. If you have any questions or want to follow up, reach out to your local AEPA rep, or you can visit the contact page at aepacoop.org for our officers, and then look for information on our next webinar on May 21st. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.